Alright guys, I'm going to walk you through 13, 14, 16, 19, and 20. And the idea is that you attempt these a little bit on your own, and if you get stuck, you check out this video. Or if you're totally lost, you keep watching the video and you work along with me. And eventually we're going to get you to where you can do these all by yourself, I promise. Okay, so let's look at number 13. So 13, was 2 plus 4 square roots of 5 over square root of 5 minus the square root of 3. So our objective is to simplify radicals and to use conjugate radicals to help us do that. So what we have to do is we have to figure out, okay, what's the conjugate radical of the bottom, of the denominator? Because we can't have radicals in our denominator. So the conjugate radical would be square root of 5 plus 3. Okay, so that gets us into that, remember that whole polynomial identity of a squared minus b squared is a plus b times a minus b. Okay, so that's what we're recreating with these radicals. So I'm just going to rewrite. I'm going to multiply it by 5 plus square root of 5 plus square root of 3. Hello. And then I'm going to divide it by square root of 5 plus the square root of 3. So there's my conjugate right there. I multiplied the numerator and the denominator by the same number, which is the same thing as multiplying by 1. So now I just need to go ahead and multiply. So for my first one, I'm going to erase this. Give myself a little more room. So for my numerator, I'm going to make the box the multiplication chart. I'm going to have 2 plus 4 times the square root of 5 on this side over square root of 5 plus the square root of 3. So now this box is 2 times the square root of 5. So it's 2 square roots of 5. This box, I've got a 4 times the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. So those square roots of 5 cancel each other out, and I'm just left with 4 times 5, which is the same thing as 20. In this bottom box, I have 2 times the square root of 3. And then in this box, I have 4 on the outside, and then I can combine my numbers under the radical sign on the inside. 5 times 3 is 15. So you can combine them when you're multiplying. So now my numerator, I don't have any like terms. So I'm just going to 20 plus 4 square roots of 15. So I'm just going to do the biggest radicals first, plus 2 square roots of 5 plus 2 square roots of 3. That's my numerator. My denominator, when I have things in the form of one number minus another number times the quantity of the same number plus the second number, all I have to focus on are my first and last terms, because my middle terms, if I make the grid here, if I have square root of 5 minus square root of 3, square root of 5 plus square root of 3, okay, square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is just 5, and then in this box I have the negative square root of 3 times the square root of 5, negative square root of 15, but down here I have the square root of 5 times positive square root of 3, so I have positive 15, those cancel out. So those boxes in this situation will always cancel out, so I just have to worry about my top left and my bottom right. Square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3, and there's a negative. Okay, so I have 5 minus 9, and 5 minus 9 is negative 4. Okay, so it looks like we're done, except I can also notice that every term in here has a factor that's divisible by negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide out negative 2 on everything. 20 divided by negative 2 is negative 10, plus this 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2, so let me change that, and I'm going to make it minus 2 square root of 15. And honestly, this is the trickiest part because you have to keep track of your signs and all that stuff. Positive 2 divided by negative 2 because everything in here can be divided by negative 2. Positive 2 divided by negative 2 is just negative 1. And then positive 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1 again. And then negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2. So there's my final answer. That's number 13. Okay, I'm going to try to go a little bit faster on the next ones. Number 14. I'm going to erase this. Do the next one. 14 is 5 plus square root of 6 over 4 minus the square root of 2. Okay, so my conjugate radical for this is just going to be 4 plus square root of 2, 4 plus square root of 2. Oops, my video's doing something funky. Okay, and I'm all set. So now let's just focus on my numerator. I'm going to make the box just to make my life easier, because foiling, I sometimes miss things. 5 times 4 is 20. This box becomes 4 square root of 6. This box, since you're multiplying two numbers both under the radical, you can combine that. Square root of 12. And this is 5 square root of 2. This square root of 12, remember we could break that up into 4 times 3. The 4 can break out of radical jail. It becomes a 2 square root of 3. So that's what could go there. Okay, if it's in simplest form. So now here's my numerator. I have 20 plus 4 square roots of 6 plus the square root of 12, which is just 2 square roots of 3, plus 5 square roots of 2. All of that over. Now for my denominator, I just have to worry about my first term and my last term. 4 times 4 is 16. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is just 2, but there's going to be a negative there. So 16 minus 2 is 14. Now if I look at all of my terms here, I've got a 20, 4, a 2, and a 5. Ooh, they don't have anything in common, so I'm stuck. That's just the answer that I have. Okay, it's ugly, but it's correct. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to erase all strokes, and I'm going to go on to number 16. 16 is 5 plus 7 square roots of 2 over 7 plus square root of 7. Okay, conjugate radical. So I'll give you a few seconds. Think about what you're going to put. And hopefully you thought of 7 minus square root of 7. Even in videos, I'm annoying you with think time. Okay. And let's keep that going. Alright, so let's focus on our numerator. Making the box, doing the tabular method. 5 plus 7 square roots of 2 over 7 times negative square root of 7. 5 times 7 is 35. 7 times 7 is 49, and then you got a little square root of 2 there. In my bottom left, I combine the 5 and the negative square root of 7, so negative 5 square root of 7. And then in my bottom right corner, the 7 is on the outside, but it's going to be negative because this guy in the bottom right is negative. So negative 7, and then I can combine, since they're both under the radical sign and they're being multiplied, 2 times 7 is 14. Okay. None of those are going to simplify any. So again, I have my ugly numerator, 35 plus, I'm going to do minus 7 square roots of 14. I want to start, I believe proper form is to have your biggest square roots first, plus 49 square root of 2. Now for my numerator, again, because of that polynomial identity of the difference of two squares, 7 times 7 is 49, so that's 7 squared, minus square root of 7 times the square root of 7 is just 7. So a squared minus b squared. So I just get 42. And if I look at all of my terms up here, they don't have any common factors. I cannot simplify that anymore. Okay, let's keep going. Next one is 19. Change my color just because I'm bored with red. 19. Negative 7 plus 6 square roots of 7 over 5 minus 2 square roots of 5. Okay, think about what my conjugate radical is going to be. Okay, so it's going to be my denominator with the sign changed. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to use that difference of two squares, polynomial identity, and get rid of those radicals in my denominator, because those are considered improper. For my numerator, I'm going to make my square. I'm going to have negative 7 plus 6 square roots of 7. On this side, I'm going to have 5 plus 2 square roots of 5. So I'm just going to combine here. And in this, 6 times 5 is 30 square roots of 7. In my bottom corner here, negative 7 times 2 is negative 14 square root of 5. And then this one, positive 6 times positive 2 is 12 on the outside for my coefficient, and under the radical I can combine 7 times 5 because they're being multiplied together and they're both under the radical sign. No more simplification can be done, and there's no like terms to combine. So I've got negative 35 plus 12 square root of 35. Next highest number is my 30 square root of 7 minus, I'm running out of room, 14 square root of 5. All of that over. Let's look at our denominator. 5 times 5 is 25 minus, so that's my 5 squared, 2 square root of 5 squared. So 2 times 2 is 4, so it's going to be a 4 on the outside. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is a 5, so 25 minus 5 is 20. And if I'm looking at our terms here, 35, 12, 30, 14, and 20, they do not have any common factors. I'm done. That's as far as it'll factor out. Okay, one more. 6 plus 7 square root of 6 over 4 plus 3 square roots of 6. So I can't have radicals in the bottom, so I have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by my conjugate radical. So all it is it's the exact same terms. I just switch the sign in the middle, so I create that difference of two squares identity pattern. Top part, okay, I have 6 plus 7 square roots of 6. Bottom part, 4 minus 3 square roots of 6. So I just combine. 6 times 4 is 24. 28 square root of 6, because 7 times 4 is 28. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18 square root of 6. It's supposed to be a negative. 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. Square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is 6, so negative 21 times 6, well I know 20 times 6 is 120, and then I'm going to have one more 6 on there, so it's negative 126. Okay. Alright, so combining my like terms, 24 minus 126 gets me to negative 102. And then I have 28 square roots of 6, and I have 18 square roots of 6, or negative 18 square roots of 6. So I have 10 square roots of 6. So these numbers here were like terms, and then my other diagonals were like terms. So I just combined them. And then for my denominator, 4 times 4, 4 squared is 16. 3 square root of 6 times 3 square root of 6. So 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is 6. So 9 times 6 is 54. So I'm going to have 16 minus 54. And the 54 comes from 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 6 times square root of 6 is 6. That's where I got that 54 from. And it's negative. So 16 minus 54, I believe, is negative 38. Alright, so in terms of simplifying this even more, I notice that these are all odd numbers. I'm sorry, even numbers. So they can be divided by 2. And actually they can be divided by negative 2, so we can get that negative out of the bottom. So 102 divided by negative 2, half of 102 is 51. Positive 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. And then negative 38 divided by negative 2 is 19. So that one cleaned up a little bit. Alright, hopefully you guys were able to watch this and get this done.